Hello everyone, welcome to today's video where I'm going to be showing you a tutorial for this eyeshadow look right here using one of my very favorite eyeshadow palettes of the last few months. Not only am I going to be showing you a tutorial for that look right there, which is also the one I currently have on, I'm going to be showing you a second tutorial using a second version of this palette. By the way, I have spoken about this palette before in another video. I think it was either last month or back in April, but obviously I'm very well aware that not everyone sees every single one of my videos. So I really felt like because I was using this palette so often and it is so affordable, I felt like it kind of needed its own video. So the palette I'm talking about and the one I used today for this look is from Morphe. It is the 9T Neutral Territory eyeshadow palette. This palette contains 9 eyeshadows. 6 of them are matte, 3 of them are shimmers. It retails for just $12. Now, the last time I sang the praises of this eyeshadow palette, I mistakenly referred to it as a ColourPop palette because to me, they do look very similar to some ColourPop palettes I have as far as the size of the packaging and the way the pans look, but it's definitely Morphe. And no, this video is not sponsored by Morphe. They did not ask me to do this video. I paid for these palettes with my own money. I've really been enjoying Morphe eyeshadow palettes lately. In fact, in a video I just posted last week, I used the Truth or Bear eyeshadow palette. But before I got that palette, I had this one, and I just bought it on a whim. I was walking through a Morphe store, although you can purchase these at Ulta, and they were having a sale. I think it was like 40% off of everything. So I paid under $10 for this palette. And now that I'm thinking back to when I bought it, it was actually back in February because I brought it with me to an event I went to in Scottsdale, Arizona around Valentine's Day. So I've been using this for several months now, and I have been taking it with me. This and the other version of the palette I'm going to be showing you, which by the way is the 9V Vintage Rose palette. I've been taking these two with me on every trip I've gone on in the last couple of months. Here are some swatches of both the palettes. The 9T is up first. As you can see, it is definitely a neutral palette. It's got some bronzy shades in here, a copper, some beautiful mattes that I find to be extremely buttery and blendable. They don't go on patchy. They're nicely pigmented, which I think you'll see demonstrated in the tutorial. And then here is the Vintage Rose palette. Now, strangely, I do find the quality of the 9T to be a little bit better than the 9V. These seem to be a little bit softer and a little bit more pigmented, especially the shimmers. So if I could ultimately only pick one, I would choose the Neutral Territory. I do believe there's at least one other version of these 9-pan palettes. And the size is excellent, in my opinion. I don't personally love the big Morphe palettes, not because of the quality or the shade selection, but because I just find them too big. Yet for some reason I buy them anyway. But I prefer a smaller palette. A mini palette is ideal, but a 9-pan palette works great for me as well. And I do really like that it has a mirror in it. So I think that's really all you need to know about the palettes themselves. So why don't I get to demonstrating them? Up first will be this look that I'm wearing right now. And by the way, all of the products I used for both looks, because I did film them on different days and I did a completely different look both days, everything will be listed and linked down below in the description box. For this first look, I'm using some Scotch tape as my guide. You've seen me do this many times before. I just put a little tape on the back of my hand first to get rid of any excess stickiness, and then apply it on the corner of my lower lash lines up towards my temples. Using a BK Beauty A503 brush, I'm going into this light caramel brown matte as a transition shade, moving back and forth in a windshield wiper motion. Then I'm using another caramel brown that's just a little bit darker, and a BK Beauty A502, looking straight into the mirror and blending back and forth into my crease, or where my crease would be if I did not have hooded eyes. Next, I'm tapping on a tiny bit of concealer, placing it right at my lash line, and then because my eyes are hooded, as soon as I open my eyes, the concealer will hit exactly where I want it to go for placement of the next shadow. I'm taking a flat synthetic brush and using my favorite shade in the palette, which is this shimmering sort of goldish taupe, and I'm placing that all over my lid where I blended in that concealer. Now I'm taking the matte ivory shade and placing that right underneath the arch of my brow. Now I'm taking this little pencil brush from Morphe and the black shade from the palette, and I'm doing a smoky wing. It's pretty dramatic. I'm using the tape obviously as my guide. I'm just sort of smudging that along the outer portion of my upper lash lines, and then I gently remove the Scotch tape, and this is the result. Now I'm just going in with a little concealer and cleaning up underneath my eyes and really defining that wing. Then I'm taking my favorite little pencil brush from Rephr and smudging the shimmering dark bronze shade from the palette along my lower lash lines. And then once again, cleaning up with a little concealer, and that is look number 1. Okay, now we're on to the second look. I apologize for the lighting change. These were filmed on 2 different days, and the lighting just doesn't always stay the same. So I'm beginning in the same way using a transition shade. This time I'm using a mid-tone mauve from the 9V palette and blending that through my crease. And then I'm going in with this lighter, slightly shimmery pinky color and blending out the transition shade. Next, I'm using this slightly deeper mauve than the original transition shade, although for some reason it doesn't look deeper on camera, which is weird. I'm taking that and applying it directly into the crease, looking straight ahead into the mirror. And then I'm taking a little crease brush from Say Me Beauty and this slightly shimmering taupe and applying that to the outer corners as I always do to give them a more lifted appearance since they are downturned. Now I'm taking that matte ivory and just like I did with the first palette, applying it underneath my brow bone. But then this time I'm also taking that matte ivory and placing it on the mobile lid. And then I go back in with a little bit of that shimmering taupe just to deepen up the outer corners once again. And now with my favorite angled brush from BK Beauty, I am going into the dark brown matte eyeshadow. This brush is damp, and I'm lining my upper lash line. And then I decided I wanted the outer corners to be a little bit deeper still, so I used that same dark brown matte on the outer corners. Once again, I'm cleaning up with concealer, and I'm smiling because since my eyes turn down so much when I smile, I want to clean up exactly where the shadow should end when I'm smiling. And now I'm tightlining using this pencil from Stila. I'm doing both the upper and lower waterlines. And now I'm using the shimmering rosy pink from the center of the palette with a tiny pencil brush and running that along my lower lash lines. Finishing off with some mascara again, and then of course some lashes. And here is the completed look using the Morphe Vintage Rose palette. All right, I really hope you enjoyed seeing those 2 eyeshadow tutorials. What can I say? I am absolutely crazy about these palettes. I definitely think that if you are in the market for a great everyday eyeshadow palette, whether you like the neutrals or whether you like the more rosy tones, I highly, highly recommend picking up one of these palettes or both. As I mentioned at the beginning of the video, I purchased mine from the Morphe store. You can also purchase them from Ulta Beauty. I have seen them there as well. If you have any questions at all, please don't hesitate to ask them in the comments. I do try to answer as many questions as I possibly can. If you did enjoy this video, I really appreciate you giving it a thumbs up. And if you're not already subscribed to my channel, I would love it if you would hit that subscribe button and join the Risa Does Makeup family. I do upload new content at least twice per week. You can also find more content from me on Instagram and on TikTok under the same username, Risa Does Makeup. Thank you all so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed it, and I look forward to seeing you in my next video.